Yo, Hegassen here, and today we are looking at Captain America the Winter Soldier. Very excited to get into this one, so let's jump straight into it. So, Captain America the Winter Soldier starts out and boom! Cap meets Falcon, his new sidekick. And I love that little scene where he's just lapping him in Washington. It's always weird going back that when you see this scene, you know, they just happen to be meeting at this one spot. Obviously later on it plays out in the film that Sam is going to help him out a little bit more. But it's always strange how they just happen to meet here. And coincidentally, this guy Falcon is also like trained to be a superhero. So that was handy, wasn't it? Especially for the plot later on in this film. But no, I really like their meeting. I like their the little dynamic that they have. It's really good. They instantly kind of get off as this kind of a good friends vibe with one another. They both kind of connect to each other because of the fact that they're both like soldiers that have lost something and they're back in a world that kind of feels unfamiliar to them now from their past experiences. So they connect in that way, and it's a good little start to their relationship. Then Black Widow turns up, and no, she hasn't got her own film yet, but this film is like the closest we get to her own film. She's in it quite a lot. She's basically the second hero of the film next to Captain America, and she's great in this film. I like her kind of sassy, cheeky, sexy kind of humour. Sexy humour, is that a thing? I don't know, but I like her like kind of like the way she acts. I like her dynamic between Cap. And what I like about this film is this is the film where you actually get to see them getting to really know each other and be friends. You know, just because they fought together in the Avengers doesn't mean that now they're like good friends. This is the film where Cap really starts to understand Black Widow, and Black Widow really starts to understand Cap. And I like how Black Widow, you know, she does care about him. You know, she's trying to get him out there into the world. She's trying to make sure that, you know, he fits in and that he's not just doing his soldiering things. You know, she's always asking him, why don't you ask out that girl in accounting? Why don't you ask out this girl? She's cute, blah, blah, blah. So I like that kind of dynamic that they have, watching their relationship build up. And, you know, you could have said, very easily they could have just made them two like the romantic one, but they didn't. There's like a little bit of flirting in there, but I like the fact that they're really good friends and stuff. So from here we get the main character introductions, then boom, first big action scene of the film. Captain America has to storm this boat. It's very much like kind of Ghost Recon with superheroes, and this is great. Unlike in the first Captain America film where a lot of these fights were like small little snippets, this one you get to see him in action, going along the boat, kicking butt, and it's great. You know, you see him just like, I like the scene where he just pushes this guy off the boat as he's running down. He's agile, he's jumping about, he's kicking everyone, throwing his shield about. You really get to see Cap being the super soldier that he was trained to be or developed to be. And I love his little fight at the end with Batroc the Leaper. That's really great. I didn't even know that that guy was actually from the comics until much later, till I read it on like a wiki or somewhere. So that's a nice little cut that they actually did include another small-time villain from the comics. I really like how Cap knocks him down with his like forward flip kick. That's an awesome scene. Then nice. Then we go back and boom, Nick Fury. It's a very fast-paced film at times, this one. Very much goes from scene to scene, lots of action. And yeah, boom, Nick Fury. And this is where the main kind of plot of the film starts coming in, where Cap is struggling with like the modern times, modern warfare and agencies with agendas and secrets and people going on different missions. You know, he's very much struggling with that. And the whole film really is about trust and who can you trust and people keeping secrets. This is also something that Nick Fury has been struggling with, but we don't really get it here. And of course we get his line.
Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
And that's great now after watching Captain Marvel, going back and seeing this line, you're like, yeah, well, we know how you actually lost it. It was a cat. An alien cat, but it was a cat. Don't play it up as some big epic story, because it really wasn't. It was mundane, everyday life. That's how you lost your eye. I do sometimes find Captain America, he's very much a moral compass character. I do sometimes find it a little bit hard to be on his side when he's so aggressive about some of these things. Like, he was very aggressive towards Black Widow and Nick Fury about the fact that Black Widow had a different mission. That mission didn't really impact their mission too much, but he played it off as like a really big deal, and he does that quite a lot in this film, and it's something that comes up again in Civil War, that sometimes, he's very much moral code, very I only want to do the right thing attitude. Can sometimes also be his weakness and stuff, and sometimes can make him come off as a little bit of a dick. But throughout the rest of the film, Cap is really good, and it's only really in these first early scenes where it's like, Cap, calm down, alright? This is how people do it these days, They meant nothing bad by it, but, he's very much a man of, like I say, trust. But what else can we say about Nick Fury? Well, he gets an amazing action scene, probably one of the best action scenes in the film, and I think it's the first black SUV chase that you get in the Marvel MCU. Seems to become a staple from here on. And that's a great scene. He's in like this James Bond-esque car. It's got all these little gadgets. They're trying to smash it into the window, and he pulls out a little minigun, takes them down. It's a really good film car chase. I do love a good car chase. And then we get Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, appears. Really epic. He's just standing in the middle of the road, throws a proximity mine down on the floor, GoldenEye style, takes Nick Fury out. Kind of like with the 4 films, where the Warriors 3 are always fighting, then 4 comes in at the last minute and instantly wins. Maybe start with the Winter Soldier again this time, he did it straight away. The only kind of little criticism I really have in this part of the film is that in order for Nick Fury to escape, he drills like a little hole in the floor to escape with some kind of laser thing. It's a little bit cartoonish, it's a little bit silly, he did that awfully quick, like Bucky was in front of the car, then by the time he looked down under the car, Nick Fury had gone. But okay, fair enough, that's more something that I'd expect to see, like ninjas escaping in Naruto by making a little hole in the floor, than I would a secret agent. I mean, it doesn't really matter anyway, because you don't really get away from Bucky, because in the next scene, Bucky does get Nick Fury, and we all think Nick Fury's dead, and that's actually a generally very sad scene when they're in the hospital and they see him die, or they think they see him die, because you get everyone's faces in the reflections, and it's really quite a powerful moment, and generally very sad. Really good acting in that scene. You see Black Widow's lip just very slightly starting to like quiver a little bit, but she's hiding it and keeping it in. And this is where the main kind of plot of the film really starts getting in, of there's something wrong with S.H.I.E.L.D. There's something not right. There's secrets. We can't trust them anymore. Who can we trust? With that word again, trust. Who can we trust? They get some information that takes them to Captain America's old base, and there we get to see Zola again. And now Zola is in or close to his comic book look, where he's in this big computer, and he basically gives all of the exposition. He was doing it to stall, but he's basically there as an exposition machine. But it's still really cool. I like his character. Unfortunately, he was stalling them because a missile was incoming. Cap manages to escape, but Zola's machine brain blows up. Hopefully he managed to escape somehow. I'd like to think maybe he could have gone down the internet or something, and maybe will come back one day, because it was quite a cool concept and quite a cool character. So hopefully they didn't just waste that and kill off another good villain. But it's here that they learn that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been infiltrated by Hydra, which leads us to the actual main villain of the piece, Alexander Price, who is a really, really cool bad guy, even though he doesn't have any like superpowers or anything like that. He's not like Red Skull, he's not super strong, he hasn't got a suit of armour like, say, Whiplash or something. He's not a evil alien that wants to turn the world into darkness. No, he is just a man who has his own viewpoints on life, working for this evil organisation, and he got to the top by being like a double agent and bluffing everybody. And he's more of like a smart bad guy, He's not really a bad guy that Captain America can fight, because it's very much in the kind of the political systems and the power systems of the world. And he's a really good villain. I really like his character in this film. Again, sadly, he gets killed off. So it's another villain that gets killed off. Come on, Marvel, stop killing off all your good villains. But stopping him isn't the main focus at the end of the film. The main focus is in stopping these helicarriers that Hydra has launched, and they're going to be launched up into the air. They got this algorithm that Zola's implanted in them, which is going to detect threats to Hydra and like wipe out vast amounts of the population. I'm not quite sure how the algorithm really works. I mean, does it take into account the fact that you get bitten by a radioactive spider, or is it just looking at your grades and your taxes and stuff like that? I don't know, but it's very bad nonetheless. So they have to stop it. Unfortunately, the way that you have to stop them is very easy. All they have to do is change this one little card that's in this very easy to get into area underneath the ship that doesn't seem to have any guards. Yeah, it's literally just one thing. You switch it out, you put in a new one, and you lose the entire control of the entire aircraft carrier. Okay, fair enough. It's a little bit easy, but you get some really good actions in this scene. You get to see Falcon being Falcon, and he's flying around taking people out. You get to see a lot of good action from Cap. But I think compared to some of the earlier action scenes in this film, it's not the best one, you know. It's still a nice, good, long, final action scene. But I still think the Nick Fury car chase scene was really good. There was a really good fight with Bucky Barnes on a bridge earlier on. That was really good. And of course you got the lift scene. That lift scene is just amazing. Probably one of the best fights in all of the Marvel films. And of course the boat scene at the beginning with that forward flip kick. So good. By the way, how did Falcon get his wings back? Because a little bit earlier on in the film, they all get captured when on that bridge scene that I mentioned where he was wearing his backpack thing. Then they all end up in a van where Hill rescues them and again uses the thing to cut through the floor and get out. So what, when they captured him, did they put him in the back holding cell with his flying gear equipment? Like, they didn't raid any of the other vans or anything, so it must have been in there with him. It's a small little thing, but I don't think it's ever explained. But he also gets a really good fight when he actually does lose his backpack things, because Winter Soldier basically rips him apart. But you get to see Falcon fighting with Crossbones, and that's a really good little fight.
Give your meat a good old rub. Yeah, boy.
But what about Bucky? Well, for a film called The Winter Soldier, you don't really get to see him that much in this film. You get like a little bit of kind of seeing him being brainwashed and stuff and his mind being cleared, because he is getting a little bit confused when he sees Steve Rogers, his old friend. It's kind of starting to bring back some memories to him. But then for the most part of the film, he is very much just a quiet, like, soldier assassin guy, and you don't really get to see too much into his actual character. That's more stuff that comes out in Civil War. That is probably one of the things with this film. While watching this entire film, I was like, oh man, I really want to watch Civil War now. So it's not really a film that kind of stands on its own. It very much feels like you need to watch this and you need to watch Civil War. Even you need to watch the first Captain America film. These are very much a trilogy that go really well together. They're very easy to binge watch through. Whether that's a good or a bad thing is up to you. But throughout this film, I was just like, man, I want to watch Civil War now. But back to Bucky, you get a very satisfying fight between Cap and Bucky at the end. Cap just gives up and trusts in his friend that his friend isn't going to hit him, and it starts off badly for Cap because he really starts going at his face, but then Bucky holds back and you can see that their memories are starting to come back in, and in the end Bucky does the right thing and saves Cap and then goes off into hiding, and you see later on in the credits that yep, he is starting to get his memory back because he goes to this Captain America museum that they have. You saw it at the very beginning of the film, and I like how they used that to kind of remind everybody about Cap's backstory and stuff. That was really good. So you start to see that the Winter Soldier is starting to lose his Winter Soldier programming and is kind of coming back to Bucky. Then for the rest of the heroes, the film ends with S.H.I.E.L.D. is taken down, S.H.I.E.L.D. is no more, and everybody goes off their separate ways. Nick Fury, who was back and of course wasn't actually dead, although he is kind of dead because he's got a gravestone, but these heroes know that he's not dead. He goes off to Europe to take out some Hydra cells and stuff like that. Black Widow decides to go off and do a little bit of soul searching basically, because everybody in the world now knows about her and what she's done, because she put it all on the internet to help expose Hydra and stuff. and Cap and Falcon say that they're going to go after Bucky. The only problem with this ending is that a lot of it is kind of undone with Age of Ultron. It's not really this film's fault. It's a similar thing with Iron Man, where he blew up all of his suits. Then in Ultron, he has all of his suits back. In this one, they all go off their separate ways. And then in Ultron, they're all together again, working with Tony in the Avengers Tower. So I would have liked a little bit more of a gap in between there, where they're all on their own thing. But that's not really a problem with this film. It's more of a problem with just Phase 2 in general. But what about this film? It's a very solid film. The action, like I say, is on point. That first boat scene is great. That lift scene is awesome. There's also a really good scene where Cap is on a motorbike and he takes down this hover plane by jumping on it and throwing his shield about. That's a really good thing. Just loads of action in general. The final action at the very end is sometimes a little bit lacking. Like I say, it was a little bit easy to take down those aircraft carriers. Also, isn't it lucky that when those aircraft carriers fell out of the sky, they fell back down exactly in the lakes that they came from? Even though we saw them take off and then split off, they all kind of just fell back down into that lake. Pretty lucky that none of them fell down on any of the surrounding buildings. I mean, okay, one goes into the actual S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters a little bit, but S.H.I.E.L.D. was getting taken down anyway, so that whole building was going to go anyway, so that's fine. The humour in this film is definitely turned down, which for this film really works, you know. Unlike Iron Man 3 where they turned the humour right up, for this film they turned it right down. But there are still some good moments in this film. Like I say, a lot of the stuff between Cap and Black Widow is good. Cap and Falcon have some good lines. But for the most part it is very much a more serious film. And a very enjoyable film. So for me, Captain America the Winter Soldier is a solid gold tier. Really good film. Very important, I feel, for the MCU as a whole. Definitely makes me want to continue watching films, because like I say, I now really want to watch Civil War, but I've got other films to watch in between then. I have to watch Guardians of the Galaxy next, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, and then I think I'm at Civil War. But I've got some good films to watch in between then. So, what do you think of Captain America the Winter Soldier? Let me know in the comments below. Did you like my video? If you did, like and don't forget to subscribe. I've been Hegassen, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye! By the way, am I the only person who thinks that Cap put in that stick that had all of the important information in it in the vending machine was the stupidest idea he's ever done? I mean, I love the scene where he comes back and he's not there, and for a little bit he's like, oh, what the... And then behind him Black Widow turns up with some bubble gum. That was a very, very, very dumb idea. He could have put it anywhere else. He puts it in there. There's not even that many gum in front. There's like 2 or 3 in front. Whatever. Still a gold film. Bye.